Hi everyone, this is Nick back with another tutorial on how to create a map for WarZone. The only thing you need to install is a program called Inkscape, which allows you to create SVGs, which is a file that WarZone uses to display maps in the game. After you have Inkscape installed, open it up, and it looks pretty similar to any kind of drawing program. The first thing you want to do is go into File, Document Properties. Make sure the default units are set to pixels, and you can select a width and height for the size of your map. Usually I pick about 1000 by 1000 to start with and then edit it later on. Also change the background color to 1582, which is the background color that WarZone uses when displaying maps. So you can close out of that now. And now we can begin drawing the outline for our map. For this tutorial, I'm going to create a small square cutout of a fantasy map that I'm just going to make up as I am drawing. So to do that, I'm going to start with the square tool and draw a box where I want my map to be within. If it doesn't have these colors, that's okay. What you should do is open up the fill and stroke properties, which will allow you to change the background color and the stroke paint color, where the stroke paint is just the outline of all the polygons that you create, and all the lines you draw as well. So anyway, for this, I'm going to take off the stroke paint by pressing the X and leave the fill some sort of blue color for an ocean, and now I'll begin drawing my map. So for that, I'm just going to use the freehand tool, and there are two different ways I can do this. I can hold the mouse button down and it will draw a somewhat smooth line depending on this value up here, or I can click different points on the page and it will create straight lines there. So if I want to connect them, all I have to do is click this node here and continue drawing my line. So for this tutorial, I'll use this method because I feel like there's many maps out there that use this. It saves a little bit of file size and it looks a little cleaner as well. But either way works just fine. For this tutorial, I'm just going to shrink the size of the map, just so it's not massive. Because I'm changing the size of the map, I'm also going to change the size of my document. Alright, so let's say that this is a coastline where I want this side of the map to be land and this side to be water. So I'm going to draw a couple islands here, just to finish it off. Alright, so now I have my coastline and my islands done. So let's say I'm going to want to create territories and bonuses on this side, but I want to leave this blue side here as water. So what I'm going to do is shift click on both the coastline and the background, and by pressing Ctrl/, it will cut this into two pieces, where one of them I can draw my territories on, and this side here will stay blue as water. So first I'm going to give all of these a fill style, just to make them easier to work with. So to do that, I go back into the fill and stroke menu, and give them a flat color. And I'll do it a color slightly different from the stroke color, just so you can differentiate the two. And then I will do the same for this one, give it a stroke color slightly different from the fill color, just so I can differentiate between the fill and the stroke. And I would always set the width to 1 pixel because in WarZone the default territory border size is 1 pixel. So first we want to draw a circle which will help us determine the size of each territory. And what I'll do is just use the circle tool and just draw one freehand, and then go back into the select tool and make sure the width and height are about 20 by 20, and that is approximately the minimum size each territory can have to fit a 2-digit army number in. So we can't have anything smaller than that. So I actually have to edit the size of some of my islands just to make sure that they can fit the army number inside. So what we want to do first is to draw what you'd like to use as your border for a bonus. And what I like to do is always start and end at corners or nodes, just because of how it looks. And after you have your bonus border finished, it needs to be converted to a path, because right now it's currently a stroke. So what I would do is go into the path menu and do stroke to path, or you can use the shortcut here, Control-Alt-C, to do it. So what you want to do now is highlight both your bonus border and your landmass by shift-clicking both of them, and the command to cut your bonus from your landmass is Control- Control-Shift-K, and then you can find what those are in here, which is you want to take the difference and then you want to break them apart. So now if you look closely, because we took the difference, we took the line's stroke width out of this path here. So when you change the stroke color here, you can tell that there's two different adjacent borders here, which is what we want in Warlight. We can continue drawing more bonus borders to finish off. Alright, so I have all of my bonus borders complete, and if you look closely, all of them have adjacent borders, as we expect, and now we can begin cutting territories. So now that we have the 20 by 20 circle, we can use that as some sort of guide to help us decide where our territory borders should be. And creating territory borders is almost the same as bonus borders, but it's even easier. The only thing you'll need to do is to draw the border, and then simply just cut it using Control/ or Division Control. So you need to highlight both, and then that's all that's to it. Alright, so I'm finished drawing territories now, so let's say if you wanted to add some more character to the map, if you wanted to connect like tiny islands off of the coast, which are part of the territory, what you could do is you could draw the little island, and then you can form a union with the original territory by doing Control-Shift+, or going into the path menu and doing union here. And now these two are one territory, and you can do that. You can add more than just one island to the territory, and now all three of these islands are connected. So if you want a lake within a territory, first thing you want to do is draw the lake like you would the island, or just drawing anything on the page, and then duplicate it by pressing Control D. So now there's two copies of it. Highlight one of them and highlight the territory that you wish to cut from, and go into the path menu and click on exclusion, which will cut a hole out of this territory based on your original drawing. And now we have one other copy that we can use to edit. Go into the fill menu and set it to the color that you want your lake to be. And then by default, WarZone layers territories above all paths you draw, and then it layers bonus links on top of all territories. If you have the SVG files for it, you can also add art from other maps or other things you've downloaded. So what I'm going to do is add some trees from some of the previous maps I've made. So all I have to do is copy what I want to put in my map and paste it in. And as I previously said, by default, Warlight will layer territories above anything you draw in this map, so we wouldn't end up seeing this tree here because the territories would be layered above it. So we want to cut out an area around this tree where territories wouldn't exist at that point. So what I'm going to do is, what I've done here is I created a slightly larger border around this tree to use. So I'm going to duplicate that and Control/ from each territory that it's bordering, and then from there I can highlight these two residue pieces and then delete them. So now what I'll have left is two territories still, but now they have a part cut out, and I'll be able to see this tree here. So I can continue to do that for any other art I want. Like I recommended in my last tutorial, any art you create for a map, you should put in a file like this where it has all your other art pieces that you can use to grab for any map that you decide to create. So if, for instance, you put a piece of art completely contained within a territory, it's a similar case to the lake that I had showed you, where you want to exclude this from the territory. So shift-click your border and your territory, and hit Control-Shift-6 or Control-Caret to exclude this area from the territory, and you'll be able to see the tree again. In this tutorial, I'm not going to put any territories on this grayed out area, so any art that I put down will just continue to show up there. So for this one that I put in between 4 territories here, I'm going to have to duplicate one for each territory that I'll need to cut from. When I move the tree out like this, to be able to select what's behind it and moving it back, all I do is hit Control-Z to undo the last thing that I did, and it will keep everything selected that I already had. Alright, so the next thing I would do here is to create water connections in between territories. So to do that, all you need to do is to either draw a curved or a straight line in between two territories. It can overlap them because, like I said, the territories will be layered above everything else, so it doesn't really matter if you draw above the territories or not. So what I'll do is draw the line, and then you can go into the stroke style or the stroke paint and change the color or change the weight of the connection, and you can also change the style too. So for this one I'll use this style here. So if you use any style other than a solid line, WarZone won't recognize it. So what you'd have to do is convert this line into a path. So you could either do that by going into stroke to path, or just hitting Control-Alt-C, which you can see that it's a path now because you can go to edit paths by nodes, and you can tell that instead of, well, I'll undo this for example's sake. Originally there's only 2 nodes here, and I can drag the line given these nodes, or when I convert it to path, now each of these rectangles here is its own path, and I can edit the nodes like this. So I finished doing my C connections, and I layered everything just so I could see what it would look like in WarZone, and looks pretty good. Everything is converted to a path where you can see all the nodes here are pretty unique, instead of just having a node at the start and the end. If you want to add some text in your map, you can use the text tool here and type whatever. You could type your map's name or whatever you wanted to use the text for, and you can go ahead and change the font size or the font. Once you have your text all set up, this also needs to be converted into a path, where you can see down here at the bottom it says text. It shows your font and size and everything else, but it needs to be registered as a path. So same deal, except that this one is an object to path, or Control-Shift-C, where now if you go into here, you won't see any nodes because this is actually a group of paths, but you can click on one now and you can see that it has its own unique nodes. So now that the text is done, it will now show up in WarZone. So let's say you wanted to add an image in your map. Right now I have I had an image copied to my clipboard, and I just pasted it in here. So again, anything that's not a path will not be shown in WarZone. So the way to convert an image into a path is to go to path, trace bitmap, and then you can mess around with the settings here depending on what you want out of it. For example, I believe that this will only show black and white, although we can't really tell because this is a black and white bitmap in the first place. But you can change the amount of scans. The more scans, the more accurate it will show, and same with the colors or grayscale. But I think we only need 2 scans because there's only 2 colors in here. So you click OK, and it creates. I guess you needed more scans to show the background too. But now we have a path, or a group of 3 paths that will now show up in WarZone, and we can delete our original image. But trace bitmap is what you'd use to show bitmaps in your map, and really you just kind of have to mess around with the settings to see what works for you, because each one you have to use different settings. So alright, so the next thing that we need to do here is to create bonus links. So to create bonus links, you can use any shape that you choose, but one shape that I like to use are rounded rectangles. So you can do that by using the Create Rectangles tool and draw. You can hold Control while you're dragging a shape to snap to an imaginary grid. So you can have a pretty decent square shape, but you can change the dimensions later anyway. So we don't need a stroke style, so I'm going to set that back to normal. The stroke width should always be 1, and if you want the gold or white border to be hidden in WarZone, you can set the stroke paint opacity to 0 up here in the alpha channel. So now we can change the dimensions up here. I think a size of about 20 by 20 for bonus links is also pretty good. I think you can get a little bit smaller than that. I'm gonna try 18 by 18. And then the RX and RY are your radius of your rounded corners, so you can put something like 4 by 4, and now you have this nice little rounded rectangle to use. I see a lot of bonus links that are either in between 2 territories or in the corner of like 3 territories or something like that, because the color of the bonus link meshes with the border of the territory. One thing you have to make sure is that your bonus links won't cover your army numbers for each territory. Alright, now that that's done, we can begin to name our bonus links and tell WarZone which of these are actual territories. So to do that, you have to open the Object Properties menu in using Object Properties, and you can close the Fill and Stroke menu now. So what we need is to click on what we want to be our territory. Oh, by the way, sometimes when you have a unified territory like this, and you cut something from it, like this for example, like how I did with the tree, it takes off any non-connecting parts to that territory. So make sure to connect them, make sure that they're all connected before naming your territories. So what you want to do in the Object Properties menu is edit the ID here and type territory with a capital T, underscore, and then any number. I usually tend to start with 1 and go up from there because that's what makes sense, but they don't have to be in order, and they don't have to be incremental or anything like that. But what you need to do is just you need this kind of code in all of your territories. So you can start with 1, then 2, and then move on from there. You have to do that for every territory. And for bonus links, similar thing. Instead, it's bonus link with a capital B and a capital L, and then underscore, and then you put the name of that bonus in there, and that's what you'll be typing into WarZone later. There was a plugin a while ago that would help speed up the naming of territories, although I don't think that the link works anymore. So if anyone has a working link, please put it in the comments. The color of the bonus links in Inkscape doesn't matter too much, because when you enter your bonuses in the Warlight map editor, you'll be able to change the color and change the bonus value and everything. One thing that you have to do also is when you type a bonus or a territory name in, you always have to press enter to save that data. Alright, when the map is finished, we can move on to WarZone. The first thing you'll need to do is click on the link that allows you to enable map development. I'll put it in the description. For me, it says that map development is only supported in Flash mode, although don't think that's entirely true because I have Flash disabled and it still works for me. So now what you can do here is either click Map Design here or go into Multiplayer and then Design Maps. So this is what the design map pages look like. All you have to do is click Add New Map and find it in your folder. Give it a name and a description that you can change later, and then you have to go find it and open it. So now you can see there's some controls up here. You can refresh, you can delete the entire map family, you can edit the name and description again, or you can edit the unlock level. You can also edit the actual map information in here. So you can see the map that I uploaded. This is the map that we've been working on, and I'd actually uploaded it already and found a couple of problems. One thing is that you don't expect to see any of the bonus links when you upload the map because they should be waiting for you to like type them in to tell them the bonus values and colors. So I actually had seen one of the bonus links over here, but I realized that means I had typed it in wrong, so I went back to the SVG and edited it there and then re-uploaded it. You can re-upload files by clicking Upload SVG and it will just refresh it here. Another thing I noticed was the compass wasn't showing up, and for some reason it was still showing up in Inkscape. It said it was transparent for some reason, so I had to change the opacity to something visible. But now everything's working and we can edit the map. So one of the first things I like to do is set the center points. It appears that this is the newer map editor, and it automatically does it for you, although it's not quite perfect. So what we can do is click Set Center Point, and I like to view example army numbers so you can see exactly where the numbers are going to be. So you can fix some of those, and once that looks pretty good, we can move on. If you want to add a bonus, you can click the bonuses window here and click Add New. You have to type it exactly how it looks in Inkscape, which means case sensitive, and you can click Submit. If I type something wrong, it would say that it's missing the bonus link here, so I'm going to delete that. But if I wanted a space, for instance if this was 2 words, I can edit that and put a space in here and it works fine. So you can also edit the armies per turn and the bonus color, which will determine the color of the borders of the territories that it contains. So you can close out of that. And if I want to add some territories to the bonus, I can do Control click, or I would have to click on Select Territories first, and then Control click on each of these territories that I want in the bonus, and I can check this Islands bonus down here. And now these are contained, these 6 territories are in this bonus here. And don't forget to save often. If you go back to Select Territories too, you can name each territory in this box down here. You can also create connections in between territories with these 3 different kinds of territory connections. First I always click Show All so you can see what you're doing, and then you can choose any of these 3 types to connect your territories. For instance, this one in the middle would be a connection that wraps around horizontally in your map, which I won't be using, but I will just show what it looks like. So to connect territories, all you have to do is drag your mouse from one to the other. And if you want to remove a connection, just drag it again and it's gone. You can also create distributions, similarly how you did bonuses. All you have to do is add a new distribution from the distributions window, and for example I can type Fixed Warlords, and I can say that it's default. Oh, I can also add a scenario. You have to input the names of each part of the scenario in your thing. Usually they just show up as A, B, C, and so on. You can close out of that, and you can add territories to scenarios the same way by clicking Select Territories and scrolling down to here and adding them to any of the scenarios that you wanted to. So a good rule of thumb for bonuses to keep the map pretty strategic is to make the bonus value about 1 or 2 lower than the amount of territories it contains. I like to put all the territories in the bonuses first, and then you can easily select them. And I guess it doesn't say anymore, but it used to show that there was X number of territories in the bonus. So, but you could still count them. So there's 5 in this bonus, so I think I'll leave it as 3 because it's at the corner of the map. And then another thing that's nice is to keep all the bonuses with some sort of color theme. So it looks like I have chosen blue, so I'm going to choose like bluish colors for all of the bonuses on this map, just to keep it fairly similar. And for all the territories and the bonus names, I used a random name generator that I had coded, but similar to my last tutorial, I'll link something in the description for anyone to use if they're making fantasy-style maps with random names. If you want to create a list of bonus colors for yourself to use later, you can click on a color that you want, and you can edit it if you'd like to, and you can add that to custom colors. You have to click on the next color and then click on the new color you want to add, and now you'll begin to have a list of color that you can go back to easily. It's a good idea to not have 2 bonuses with the same color touching, just so it's easy to differentiate between what territory is in what bonus. So if I think I'm done, I can click validate to see if there's any problems that WarZone thinks the map has, and it looks like it's good. One thing that I know I haven't done yet is I haven't added distribution, which isn't critical, but it's just nice to have. So I'm going to add a fixed warlords distribution. So if I think I'm done with the map, I can click on this link for sharing tab if I want to share it to anyone, or just see how it looks like it would after it was published. So you can click on each territory and see that it connects to everything that I expect it to. You can click on the bonuses and see that they contain all the territories you want them to. And you can click everything on this side too, and at the very bottom it will show your distribution as well. And you can also view example army numbers. If I'm ready to test the map, I can go back to this page and change mode to testing mode. And now I can create single player games on this map or practice multiplayer games on this map. And to test it out, I can go to single player custom game, change map, and you'll notice there's a new category in here called Your Testing Maps, and you can use the map to test it out. So after that's done, you can go back to your map page, and if everything's all good, you can change mode to public. And that's all there is to it. Let me know if you need any help, and good luck!